the way that I look at this, and especially with the COVID situation, is that this has revealed some deep flaws in our society, some major issues that certain people like myself have always been aware that we've had this problem. And by always, I mean since my political awakening in 2016. But like certain people have definitely been aware of the injustices going in all of these different communities and the various ways that the elites have basically fucked all of us all the time. And I think now more people are waking up to that. So more normal people, more average people who maybe aren't as tuned in to politics or any of that, they're learning. And I think if nothing else, we are learning, and we are in the beginning stages of being able to fix it, right? One of the first steps is to acknowledge it, right? You have to acknowledge the problem before you can solve it. And one of the concepts that I was learning, I was listening to a podcast, and I don't remember which one it is off the top of my head right now, but I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about Buddhism, and they were saying, the concept of right sight, right mind, right action. And this is something that's really been interesting to me because I think it really applies to my personal situation, as well as you could probably scale it up to the societal level, which is that for me personally, I'm finally seeing truthfully why I've been in the cycle I'm in, right? I didn't have the right sight. I wasn't seeing things for what they were. And now that I'm beginning to see that, I can then begin to change my mindset to match that newfound vision of the clarity of the situation. So when you have that right sight, you can then start thinking about the problem and thinking about solutions correctly. And then once you've got the right mindset, the right mind, then you can translate it to right action. That means then you're actually going to take actionable steps to resolve the issue or to make things happen that is more beneficial to you. And I think right now I'm only in the stage of right sight. I don't think that I've changed my mind or fixed my perspective on it just yet, but I'm now aware of it, and I'm now catching myself in it. Another big concept that is kind of related to that is should. The concept of shoulding yourself to death. And this I think I got from an Aubrey Marcus podcast. But I should myself to death, dude. I really do. I'm always like, oh, well, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should be editing. I should be recording. I should be posting. I should myself to death, dude. I'm never in the moment because when I'm recording something, I'm thinking about editing it. And I'm thinking about posting it. And I'm always like 3 steps ahead of the moment I'm in, and so I'm never enjoying the moment that I'm in. And that's frustrating because it's like, well, half the fun of this is the process. Like half the fun is me figuring this out. It's me recording these things. It's me doing it. It's me taking the actions, taking the steps, learning something new, applying it to the next one, expanding my creativity and coming up with new ideas. Half the fun is that. So by me not being in the present moment and then shoulding myself and shaming myself and feeling guilty, I mean, I was just like beating myself up constantly for this shit. And when you understand that context, I think you guys can understand why I was just not posting, because it was like I would think about all the steps required to succeed. And I think this is a weird dichotomy where, if you want to succeed at something, there is a level of seriousness that you do have to take to achieve it, right? You have to be disciplined. You do need to be consistent, and you do need to work at it, and you need to have an actionable plan, right? But what that fails to recognize is that not everything needs to be a business, and not everything needs to make you money. Not everything needs to be that serious. Some things can be a lesson that you learn, and that was all you needed from it, right? So for me, I don't think the podcast is something that's just a lesson to learn. I think there's a lot of lessons within the podcast, but it is something that I like doing, and it's something that I want to continue to do. But there might be other things that I try, that I test out, and determine later, you know what, that was a good lesson, but I don't think I really want to do this. But it was fun, and the idea of it seemed cool, and when I did it, maybe the reality wasn't as good, And I think we need to be more willing to accept that. We need to be more willing to accept that, you know what, sometimes not everything needs to be, your money-making side hustle. And I think America just has that That's just this hustle culture that's just really toxic. It really leaves out a huge other part of the human experience, which is human connection. You know, I forgot where I heard it from, but it's like the opposite of addiction is connection. And I think human connection is just so important. And it's something that we're now missing out on because of COVID. And for good reason, we do need to be careful. We need to be safe. There are really vulnerable people in our population. And we have to make sure that we take care of them. And we can't unnecessarily expose people that don't have the fight in them to survive this virus. And unfortunately, we have a lot of really selfish, individualistic people in America that refuse to even put a piece of cloth over their face, literally just because of convenience. They don't care that it kills grandma. They're like, well, I don't want to put this on my face because I don't like how it feels. I feel like I can't breathe, you know. And these people are really delusional. These anti-mask people, fuck, man, it's really frustrating because you know it comes from just this sense of entitlement. Like, it's 100% just entitled, selfish. Usually, I'm gonna be honest, usually white people. I mean, it's not always, but usually white people, and it comes from a place of privilege, really. They've never had to be inconvenienced in their life. So now that we're finally telling them to, like, they're so stubborn that they're like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to wear a mask. That makes me feel uncomfortable. And it's like, dude, yeah, it makes you feel uncomfortable. Nobody likes this. But if it's going to save lives, which has been proven to do, it's been proven that in all the countries where people wear masks, the cases go down. The deaths go down. Now, I don't know if the mask is like that effective at stopping the virus per se, but for whatever reason, when people wear them, it seems like it's at least keeping the cases down. So regardless of the effectiveness of the mask of actually containing the virus from you spreading it, because it's not about you protecting yourself, it's about you protecting other people, which is why, you know, of course, that didn't sell well in America because people are fucking selfish. But it really is just, maybe it makes people more aware or more conscious. Like, they see people wearing masks, so they keep the 6 feet distance. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but the correlation is there. And we need to wear masks, people. I mean, and some people have really disappointed me in this pandemic with their fucking points of view. I used to occasionally, not super regularly, but I used to occasionally appreciate JP Sears' videos, because he would have these funny things where he was like self-aware and making fun of like new age spiritual people. And there's some fun to be made fun of there. I mean, you know, I'm a spiritual dude. I don't really buy into crystals or anything like that. You know, I think that stuff is maybe a little more pseudoscience, but hey, if it makes people feel better, by all means, you know, I'm not going to tell you to stop. Do your fucking thing, man. I just don't think there's a lot of science to back up the crystals, but that doesn't matter. Regardless of that, because I believe in some pretty crazy shit. So I can admit that that's not a hill I'm willing to die on here. But he's been like a super anti-masker, and then he's like all in this, like, not trusting the science, and apparently he's got a history of this, and I didn't know that. But it's disappointing because, like, I thought he provided some cool videos, but like, he really turned me off after that. When I could just tell, it's like, I think people just like being contrarians, man. I really do. I think when people hear enough people going in one direction, they're like, you know what? I'm going to go in the other direction. So for whatever reason, I don't know, anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, these are people who, flat earthers, I would put them all in the same category. These are people who they just like being part of the club, man. I think they just want to belong. And I think they maybe don't fuck with the mainstream of whatever. And they're just seeking some form of acceptance. I mean, and I think that's what we really need to understand. We need to be empathetic to people because people just want acceptance, man. You know, we all just want to be accepted. We all just want to be loved. It's such a human thing. We want to feel like we're part of the community. We want our connection. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is something wrong with killing people indirectly or directly by not taking proper precautions during a pandemic. I mean, Jesus Christ. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to be accepted or to look for groups with like-minded things. There's nothing wrong with that. There are some dangers, though, that have come from that.